The Lift X33, I've had this bow since November, and we're going to get down to see if it's the same or different. This is the bow I've actually used the most so far this year, but I'm pretty much shelving it after now because I've shot it a lot and I haven't shot the other ones near enough. So I'll be shooting other bows going forward. This bow has been on most of my hunts and most of my trips, and I've had really good luck with it. We haven't checked the timing. We did adjust it once early on, like shot the bow a little bit and needed to retime it. But since then, it hasn't felt like it's out of time, and we haven't had to retime it, so we'll take a look at that. We'll check the abuse of the strings, which should be more than the other because this has been traveled with more and in more varied environments, but so far so good. I did change the arrow rest out to the Epsilon V2 when they came out. It had an MX2 on it, so that part isn't exactly the same. I have the UltraView vertical 3-pin Mathews slider on here. And I've mentioned this more than 1 or 2 times if you're listening. The pin seems awfully big to me to aim with at distance, so I'm not super jacked about that. But I have been using it the whole time, and it's worked relatively good. The clicks still feel really clean. They're not getting gritty like most of them. Running my standard 15-inch Podium narrow on there. Works great. Single offset bar with a sling in hunting blinds and towers and things of that nature. Getting in and out of vehicles, UTVs, ATVs, trucks, the whole bit, getting transported around. 1 bar is way easier to deal with than 2 bars, so I try to do that when I know I'm going to be shooting 60 yards and in. If I'm going to have to stretch it out a ways, then I would probably lean more towards a front bar and a V bar. But for most of these bows, I try to keep it simple because it is beneficial to keep it simple. The dampener. This is out of my other lift from last year because this was missing. Because these do fall out. And there's a little hack that I've done with these before to tie the dampener into the riser itself so it can't fall out, because it is actually a common occurrence. We sell more of these than you would care to acknowledge because people do lose them because they are in here, but they are a dampener and they are not glued in by any means. And I would not glue it in because you probably won't ever get it back out. And they do take a bit to get in there, but it's just sitting in there enough that if it gets wet or damp, it might slide out. And if you just put a little serving through above and below on the top and the bottom, it'll make it to where it can't fall out. And I forgot to do that when I built this bow because I was in a hurry. We're going to check our timing, run the bow through paper, and check the chronograph and the decibel readings and see if they're still the same. Maybe the bow got louder, maybe it got slower, maybe it got faster, maybe it's out of time, maybe it's in time. But let's find out. Well, she's in time. And once again, stock, match, strings. The bow's still in time, which is massively impressive because these are probably the hardest bows to get timed and keep timed. So that's impressive. Let's run it through paper and see what the paper tune looks like. Let's see what we got. What do you know? Let's see. Little left to right edge, little point right, which is the opposite of what the Bowtech was. All we're going to do, that's point right, so we need to move the cam to the left. So you chase your knock, is what it boils down to. And I just got to find the right size. Push the limb that way. Move it a little bit, and then we're going to take off the other screw here. You can leave these screws out while you're tuning, so don't be alarmed. This is not actually, this is just basically covering the hole so you don't have crap get in there when you're hunting. You don't actually need this piece. So I'm going to leave them out until we're sure we got what we want here. But it is literally that simple. Voila.
You guessed right, sir.
I think I guessed right. So that's simple, that easy. These systems are awesome. However, I find it interesting that both of them needed to be readjusted. And I haven't changed anything on here. I didn't put different arrows in it or anything like that. So, but all right, let's run through the chronograph and see if it's still as fast as it was. All right, so we're looking for 333 foot a second because that's what we had last time. Ironically, same as the Bowtech. Let's see what we got. 325, 329. I will say this bow does pull easier than the Bowtech, so I was surprised that they were the same speed. 328, 327. 326, 327. So that's quite a drop off in speed. I'm willing to bet that it probably stretched a little bit. In fact, looking at the position of the cables, I bet you this is a couple pounds lighter than it was. Even though the bow's tuned, even though everything lines up, I bet you this is probably a pound or two lighter than it was, which would explain the foot per second difference. But let's see how it sounds. It's louder, which doesn't surprise me because anytime you bolt another component on a bow, it's probably going to make a little more noise. But it's still the quietest thing we've ever tried. So it's pretty impressive. But all in all, I think it's holding up pretty good. All right, so overall takeaways. This bow's still really, really quiet. This bow's still really fast for what it is. Like I said, I'll check the scale weight, but I guarantee you it's like 2 pounds lighter. That's probably where that variance is coming from. And then you got the peep in the string that's going to slow it down a little bit. This pin's still way too freaking big for me to aim with. I don't like it. I'll figure out something else different. All in all, I like the bow a lot. It's very impressive. I am going to change away from this and go to the 2-piece grips now that my knuckle doesn't grind on here, because I think I'll like that feel better personally. But outside of that, I'll keep rolling this thing. Although this bow has been 5 months of usage and the strings are actually in really good condition, this is the point in which I probably would change them out and put a different set of strings on this bow. And I will probably do that in another video for you on how to install strings and cables on here using Gas System X. Because personally, I think that is the best stuff made, period, hands down. I don't think you're going to find anything better. It is a little more expensive, but it is really good, and we've had really good results over time. Wheel lean changes are not super common, but if you change your knock tension, that's probably something that's going to get into play and have to be retuned. But all in all, there's not really a lot of maintenance. Just change your strings and cables once a year. Probably, depending on use and abuse, if you don't ever shoot your bow, that might not be relevant, but in general you do. I don't wax my strings because it changes the variant of the bow itself. I'd rather wear the string out and replace the string more often, personally, but there's not really much to do beyond that. Check your paper tune once or twice a year, shoot a broadhead and a field point, make sure they're going in the same place, and outside of that, rock on, get down with your bad self, and have a good time with your bows. We're going to start doing this a little bit more and covering longer reviews over each individual bow because I am using a bunch of different ones and getting a bunch of different shots in them, so I can hopefully give you that feedback. Comment down below on whether or not these videos actually help you out at all. Go to your local pro shop, test fire it there, get their input, get their feedback, and please, please, please buy it from them. Do not buy it from me. One, you have to get these in person anyway, so you can't. So please support your local bow shop. If you're going to buy something online, and if you're going to buy it online, podiumarchery.com for all those archery needs, $99 and up is free shipping, and coupon code MFJJ will save you a little money. Thanks for watching.